What's good, y'all? This is SA, and in my last devlog video I explained the new mechanics of the battle system and how it worked. In this update, I wanted to let you know that I finally implemented a majority of those changes. So now you get a chance to see how they look in-game, and I'll have a better opportunity to go more in depth on some of the mechanics that require a little more explaining. So after I make sure you subscribe to the channel, we can finally jump into it. Alright, let's go. In my previous video, I threw a lot of new status conditions at you and only briefly got to go over them. In that rushed explanation, I forgot to mention the key thing that separates some status conditions from others, which is the fact that most of them can stack onto each other. The idea was that it would make the game more challenging and realistic if you had to look out for multiple status conditions at once, or if you created strategies where you could inflict multiple status conditions on your enemies. Of course, not all the status conditions stack. And besides what the main status conditions do, this is the second biggest distinction between them and what helps keeps them balanced. For example, you can stack burn on top of poison, but you can't stack burn on top of freeze. You can stack freeze on top of exhaustion, but you can't stack freeze on top of petrification. And when you do petrify someone, it removes all the other status conditions the target may have and replaces it with just petrification. If you're curious about the full list, here's all the status conditions and what they stack with. I personally think this helps keep certain status conditions from being overwhelmingly broken. For example, while you can't break out of petrification, at least you can't be inflicted with any other status conditions. But if you're inflicted with sleep, while you do have the opportunity to wake up each round, you can still be inflicted with other status conditions like burn and poison. So that's how status conditions work. Moving on to the next mechanic. In the previous devlog, I mentioned how using a technique in the game will cost elixir to use, and if you run out of elixir and try to perform a move, then it comes at the expense of your health. And while all of this is still true, it does beg the question, what do you do if you want to perform an attack, but you don't have any elixir at all? That's where the concepts of basic attacks come in. Basic attacks are attacks that require no elixir to use, and they have no added effects either. Think of attacks that cost elixir as a Rasengan, and basic attacks as just people throwing hands. So you're probably thinking, if there's an option where I can attack without needing elixir, why not just use that instead of my normal attacks? Well, let's compare the basic attack with a technique that has the same base power. The base attack did 1 HP worth of damage, while the technique did 3 HP worth of damage. Why is that? Well, the secret lies in how the different attacks are calculated in the game. While both calculate your attacks by the base power, techniques additionally add multipliers for if the technique they're performing is of the same class or archetype as them. This not only makes techniques, generally speaking, more powerful to use than regular attacks, but it creates opportunities for you to switch between using a technique and a basic attack. Whatever strategy you use, I think this is a much more thrilling way to play compared to how the battle system used to work. In addition to that, I've added one more feature to the game that helps make the battles more interesting. In the previous version, whenever a character would throw out a move, it would look like this. And that was always boring to me. So I'm adding animations to my moves to make the game more entertaining to play. The sprite sheets where I got these animations from is from a pixel artist named Pimen, who has attack animations for literally anything you want, which was super helpful. It meant that all I needed to do was create the animation timeline using the sprite sheets and call the animation whenever the move was being used. The only problem I have now is that there are over 151 moves to animate now. Am I going to animate all the moves in time for the demo? No, I love myself too much to go through all that stress. But I have animated a few techniques to use and coded it to where everything else will have 1 or 2 animations to save some time. In the future, I will animate all the other moves, but in order to finish this demo, I gotta move on to adding cutscenes and other quality of life changes. And that's all I got for you guys today. If there are any questions you have on this, I've left some links in the description that help me get started on some of these features. Special thanks to Pimen for the animation effects, and to Egg for the wild animal sprites. The link to get in touch with them for any commissions or to buy their works will also be in the description. Like I mentioned already, the next devlog video will be going over cutscenes and other miscellaneous changes for the first chapter of Guardians of RPG. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, or else, and yeah, I'll see y'all later. Peace.